Hello and welcome. My name is Jim Dubois. Welcome to my weekly live stream. If you're new to the group, glad to have you here. As most of you know, we talk strategy, we talk shop, period, in these live streams. And for those of you that are here for the first time, I'll give you a quick little bio on myself. I own a window cleaning pressure washing company here in North Carolina. I've had it for 2 decades plus. It's a multi-million dollar operation. We're in residential, we're in storefronts, we're in large commercial. And I can tell you that this journey of entrepreneurship is not an easy one, especially when you've got goals of reaching a half a million, a million, going into the seven figures and doing it right, meaning you're taking hats off of your head as you're growing your company. And that's what we talk about here. And this is something that's dear to my heart. I was talking to a gentleman just before this call, and we were talking about how, we're pretty lucky. Here we are in the window cleaning, pressure washing space. Here we are in an industry that has a clientele that depends on us because of the services that we offer, right? And it's a consumption business that we're in. And it's pretty cool when you think about it because we're in the business of clean. And anything that gets clean, it gets what? Dirty again. Then we clean it, it gets dirty again and again and again. And if you build this business right, because we're in the business of consumption, and you build a database, as that database grows, you put yourself in a position where you can make money anytime you want to, right? Versus those that are in one off type services where they'll install like landscape lighting, for example, and they're pretty much done. And unless they sell their house and go somewhere else. So we're pretty lucky. We were talking about this today on this call. And I pinch myself because here I am, here we are in our businesses. And I mean, how many people can say they've got a multi-million dollar operation washing windows, washing houses, right? Not that many people can say that, but we have that opportunity right here. And these live streams, I try to get in the weeds with some of these things because we have so much opportunity here when it's done right. And our mission is to help you do it right. So, Squeegee Pros is a company that's dear to my heart. I started it 27 years ago, and it is a machine run by Christina and Brian. And in 2017, I started Window Washing Wealth, which is a coaching company that is only for window cleaners and pressure washers. We're really, really, really good at taking people beyond $50,000 or $100,000 a month with all the hats off their head. So if you've got questions on that, set up a call. I'll walk you through what all that looks like. You can put the word guidance in the chat bar, and Annie will reach out to you in regard to that. Last week, real quickly, I made an announcement that we've got our Window Washing Wealth Mastermind coming up in July 22, 23, 24. This is an event where I'm going to spend 3 days in a workshop format with a small group of window cleaners and pressure washers talking shop, going deep into the critical drivers of how to put your business in a position to scale. You'll see my operation. You'll see how we did what we did. There'll be nuggets of gold in this. If this is something that is interesting to you, put the word mastermind into the chat here, and Annie can reach out to you to get you the link on what all that looks like. And if Annie is able to, she can put the link in this particular chat now if you want to get more information on our Window Washing Wealth Mastermind that we have coming up in July. So let's get into this week's live stream. Pay. Should you pay yourself first? An important question. How does this work? Do you pay yourself? If you do, how much do you pay yourself? It's a conundrum almost every window cleaner, every pressure washer owner faces, especially when starting a new company. or if they have a smaller or younger company and they're in that dynamic. How do I pay myself? When do I pay myself? How much do I pay myself? Many, what they do is they put all their money back into their business, right? For growth purposes and whatnot. But do you take any money for yourself? Do you give yourself a personal salary? Because you should. And hopefully, when you began your business, you had a little bit of cushion, right, in your personal savings, some startup money. I didn't. I had $100, and that's where I started my window cleaning business. I went down to a janitorial supply shop, and I bought $100 in squeegees, a pole, got a bucket, I think from Lowe's or Home Depot, and that's how I started. But hopefully, some of you have a little bit of cushion startup to get you going. The point is, if you're going into business for yourself, it's to make your own living. So it should be very important to yourself that you begin compensating yourself accurately. Would you agree with that? So it gets easier as you grow your business, right? You begin to make more money, you begin to generate more leads, get more customers. Soon you have enough coming in to where you can afford to bring in good employees and you can pay them too. But you should be paying yourself first. Start at the beginning of this journey as an employee of your company because you are, right? So why pay yourself first? Well, for one thing, if you were still working for another employer, you'd bring home a salary, maybe some commission if you're in sales. Plus, if you focus on paying all the bills, buying things you need for your business and paying employees before you pay yourself first, you may end up with hardly anything at all. I was talking to who is now a client who they have not been paying themselves for about 2 years. And they have other careers that kind of support this. But I said, this is a big mistake. You've got to start figuring this out, which we're helping them with, to start bringing money into their pocket. Why waste their time, right? So money, you'll all agree with me with this one, it's easy to spend. And not paying yourself can actually be detrimental to your company's success. So here's a quick tip. Giving yourself even a modest salary can have tax benefits for your business. Compensating yourself minimizes your overhead, especially during startup. It can also help you make ends meet at home if things get a little bit tight when you're building your business. So you have to figure out how to pay yourself. You have to do this. In the early days, your salary might be mostly what's left over, right? After operating costs and bills. But when you start bringing in some consistent profit, figure out what percentage of those profits you can comfortably pay yourself with. So here's another quick tip. Pay yourself as if you were paying an employee. So at my company, as an example, typically we have 2 guys to a truck. But if we have 1 guy in the truck, let's say that's you working for yourself and you're working alone right now. Well, like in my company, we pay that 1 technician 30% of the residential job, 40% of the storefront job. So if you fall in one of those categories, pay yourself that. Pay yourself as if you're the employee. And this will, and I love these 2 words, this will force feed your operation to pay you right out of the gates, right? And you figure this out as you go along with managing your money appropriately to begin investing back into the business and so on. But in the beginning, most of the money you're making is profit, right? So if you're paying yourself that 30%, another 50% can go into financing the company to get you where you want to go to the next step. So pay yourself as if you were paying an employee. Once out of the truck, right? So you've hired X number of people, you've stepped out of the truck, you've taken that position hat off of your head, and you're acting as an operations manager or a supervisor. Pay yourself that position wage. So look at yourself as the employee of your company. And if you were to replace yourself, what would you pay that person? Pay yourself that. And that forces you to pay yourself. It forces you to manage your money so that your company gets off to a good start. It forces you to pay yourself as you should be paid. And it forces you to put yourself in a position to manage the money in your company so that you can grow it safely. So, what am I trying to say here? Don't just take draws. This is what so many do. There's no system behind that kind of pay, just taking draws, right? There's no managing, there's no structure, there's no organization, there's no system behind that pay because you're paying yourself based on what money's in the account. That's not the way to build $1 million company. Even from the very beginning, you've got to pay yourself, and I'm giving you some strategies here on how. So let me say it this way. If making payroll, so if you've got employees, if making payroll is a constant problem, then you have a major problem in your business. So here's an important note. If you're not paying yourself as a W-2 employee, the IRS will flag this. They will flag you at some point and audit you, unless you're a sole proprietor. So pay yourself something. If you're an LLC, if you're an S Corp, if you're a C Corp, the IRS expects you to pay yourself as a W-2 employee of your company. What does that mean? That means a regular paycheck. Weekly, every other week, whatever that might look like. Then, as your business grows and revenue and profits are increasing, once you have the supervisor hat off of your head, you're paying yourself as what? The president of the company. The IRS has codes on what a manager of a window cleaning or a pressure washing company should be paid. They have all these codes, right? Pay yourself that and no more on your W-2 paycheck. So we started at the beginning, right? You're a one-person operation and how you can pay yourself as an employee and what you would pay somebody else, you pay yourself. Then we're starting to take hats off of your head, right? The technician hat came off of your head. So you're a supervisor. Pay yourself a supervisor wage. We take that hat off of your head. You're the president of your company, so to speak, right? You're going to pay yourself accordingly with IRS codes. I'll give you an example what this looks like. So look at my hands. This hand is a W-2, we'll call it a weekly paycheck, right? I get one for my company. This hand, the left hand, is the K1 distribution hand. So watch what happens here. So this hand is my weekly paycheck, right? And this hand is my distributions. Let's say the number you're paying yourself, and I'm just going to throw a number out there, is $500 a week on this hand, and $500 a week on this hand. W-2 distributions. Every week you're paying yourself $1,000 a week, right? And as your company grows, revenue grows, profits grow, you pay yourself more and more and more money, right? So maybe it goes to $750 a week, $750 a week in this hand too. And you keep going and you keep going. Where does it stop? Well, the W-2 hand, according to IRS law, should stop at around, we'll call it $80,000, $85,000 a year. This hand is also being paid $80,000, $85,000 a year. This hand has the FICA, the FUCA, the SUDA, all those taxes, Medicare, Medicaid, so all of those taxes are coming out of this hand, the W-2 hand that the IRS is watching. This hand is your distribution hand, right? So all you pay is self-employment tax on this hand. So both hands are going evenly up. You max out at where the code is with the IRS, $80,000, $85,000 a month, right? So that's where your W-2 check stops, and you pay yourself no more than that in this hand. This hand can go as high as it may go, right? Because they're distributions. So this might be a little bit more advanced than what you're ready for right now, but I think it's important for you to see the big picture, not just the small picture, but the graduating picture as your company continues to grow. Because when you look at your profit and loss statement, ooh, do you have a profit and loss statement? Are you mastering your numbers? Is the profit and loss statement built out as it should be for a service company and not a QuickBooks template? Whole nother conversation. But the last line on your P&L is your net profit or your net margins. It changes from when you're in the truck, that net profit, very high, right? To when you come out of the truck, meaning your net profit is much higher while you're in the truck due to less labor or no labor cost except for what you're paying yourself. But once you're out of the truck, that net profit percentage or that number, the percentage comes down. The number goes up, but the percentage comes down. Once an admin is hired, that net margin comes down a little bit more. Once a supervisor is hired, that net margin comes down a little bit more. But understand, revenues are growing as these position hats come off of your head, which means your net number, right? Your net profit, the dollars are also going up, but the percentage of net is coming down as you take those position hats off of your head. Does that make sense? Are you with me so far? So where am I going with this? The bottom line is this. Your net profit should be right at about the 20% mark of revenue. So if you're doing $100,000 a month, you should have 20% of that revenue in the net profit margins after you pay yourself your salary. So you're an officer of the company, you're the president of your company, you're whatever position you are titling yourself in the company, right? Technician, office manager, supervisor, whatever that might be. After all is paid, you're looking for a net margin of 20%. And this net profit, this margin, would then become your distributions. You can pay yourself this every week, whatever that number might be, once a month, once a quarter, once a year. These are distributions that you'll pay self-employment tax on, minus whatever's on your balance sheet, like loans. That's a whole nother conversation that gets very advanced when we get into the mastering of your numbers when it comes to financials. So part two to this. So part one is understanding, very important, pay yourself first, right? Start paying yourself accordingly to the position hat. And it just makes sure you're putting money in your pocket. I'm giving you some strategy on how to do that. Part two to this is a cash cushion. Put a dollar amount aside every single week. Here's what we do in my company. Every week, we put X number of dollars aside into a company savings account. For you, maybe this is $50 a week. Maybe it's $150 a week. Maybe it's $500 a week. Whatever that number might be, start building a cushion of savings. I cannot tell you how important this is, especially as your business starts to grow and grow and grow. You want to build your company with cash. It amazes me how many people out there, and this is my personal opinion, they're buying $50,000, $60,000 trucks. They're investing $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 in building out these trailers or building out these trucks. It's not duplicatable. It's just not. You've got so much money tied up into this stuff. How are you going to scale? Another conversation another time, but I want you to think about that. Start putting money aside. I'll tell you something else we do. So we have the savings account that we're building up every week. We also put a small percentage of every single deposit into what we call a number two account or a distribution account. Pick the percentage. Maybe it's 2%. Maybe it's 5%. Maybe it's more. Whatever that might be. Every single deposit, because you don't feel it. And this is a do not touch account under any circumstances. Watch what happens. I promise you that account will just begin to accumulate. 4 figures, 5 figures, 6 figures even, because you strategize this particular account. So pick a percentage that you're comfortable with, something small so you do it. You can use this for estimated taxes, for example. You can use this for distributions or both. that you take out later in the year or during the year. And if you need some help on unlocking this mystery of building your business, get in touch with us. Set up a, I do these free one on one, no obligation, free help strategy calls. And we can help you grow your business, right? Help you start mastering the numbers, understanding the numbers. I'll close with this. We had a client last year, very successful perception, over $1 million a year in revenue he was pulling in, making no money, no money. He was about to go out of business. He had 30, 40 days left. He didn't have money for payroll. And so, as they say, revenue is vanity, net profit is sanity, right? So start paying yourself now. Put some money aside starting now, whatever that looks like. This particular client, we went to work with him and we found him, and it was somewhere between 30 and 60 days. We found him $30,000 in cash flow. He needed fresh eyes on his business. Do you need fresh eyes on your business to see what you're doing wrong, what's missing, what's broken, what's needed in your business? He did. We saved his business. He was on the verge of bankruptcy. And it all came down to the numbers. It all came down to mastering his numbers that so many do not do. So if you have questions on this or anything to do with leads or administration or expansion or marketing, reach out to us. This is what we do. We're really good at it and we can help you. And also one more thing. If you know anybody that might benefit from this group, please share the Facebook group link with them. And Annie, if you're able to, if you can drop that into the comment section, the Facebook link. I hope this has been helpful. I see Patrick's on. Hey, Patrick, good to see you. And you're in the DMV area. Great. Do you think this is a good place to do this kind of business? Absolutely. Hands down, absolutely. This business can be done almost anywhere if done correctly. But understand your marketplace, right? Understand your customer avatar. Understand what service sectors you want to participate in, or more than one, like we do 3, residential, storefronts, large commercial. And let me put it this way. In a population of 150,000 people, which is our immediate area, and we track this information based on those demographics, we pull in over $1 million a year. 150,000 in population. Great question, Patrick. Glad you chimed in on that. All right. Thank you. I hope this has been helpful. I appreciate you being in my world for a little bit, and we will see you next time. Thank you.